Do you remember that feeling when Arsenal were close but not quite there? Not because the quality wasn't enough, but because in the biggest moments something was missing. That slight hesitation, that lack of edge, that inability to take control when everything is on the line. Well, now we are at that exact point again, but this time it feels different. Because Arsenal are no longer a team trying to prove they belong, they are a team that expects to win. And right now, everything is building toward one of the biggest tests of this entire project. Arsenal are going to the Etihad to face Manchester City, and this is not just another game. This is a defining moment. At the same time, a message linked to Thierry Henry has been circulating everywhere. A message talking about fire, about belief, about showing up at the Etihad. Whether that quote is real or not almost doesn't matter anymore, because it perfectly captures the pressure and expectation around this Arsenal team right now. The real question is not whether Henry said it. The real question is whether this Arsenal team is actually ready to live it. Because Manchester City do not care about narratives. They do not care about potential. They care about execution. And if Arsenal are not ready at every level, they will be exposed. Now let's take a step back and look at what just happened against Sporting, because that performance tells us everything we need to know going into this game. Arsenal are through to the Champions League semi-finals again, and that alone shows the level this team has reached. Back-to-back semi-finals is not luck. It is consistency, it is structure, it is growth. But if you actually watched that game, you know it was not comfortable. It was not dominant. It was not the kind of performance that makes you feel completely confident heading into a game against Manchester City. It was scrappy, slow at times, and lacking that sharp edge in attack. Arsenal had control for large parts of the game, especially in the first half, and you could see the intention to manage the tie early. Eberechi Eze stood out immediately as the most dangerous player, constantly driving forward, linking play, and creating those small moments that felt like they could turn into something bigger. But here is where the problem starts. Arsenal had moments, but they did not convert them. And in football at the highest level, moments without outcomes mean nothing. Then came the warning sign, Sporting hitting the post. That single moment changed the entire mood of the game, because it reminded everyone that control is not the same as security. Arsenal were in control, but they were not safe, and that is a key difference that becomes even more important against Manchester City. Against teams like City, you cannot just control the game, you have to kill it, because if you leave it open, even slightly, they will punish you. In the second half, Arsenal became more structured and a bit more composed. Arteta made adjustments and the team looked more stable, but the same issue remained. Trossard came on and hit the post, another moment where the game could have been sealed but wasn't. And that's really the story of the night. Arsenal did enough to go through, but they did not do enough to dominate. And while that is acceptable in a knockout situation where the objective is simply to qualify, it is not acceptable when you are about to face Manchester City away from home. Now this is where we shift the focus completely, because everything we just saw against Sporting becomes amplified against City. Every small weakness becomes a major problem. Every missed chance becomes a turning point. Every lapse in concentration becomes a goal conceded. And that is why this game is so important, because it forces Arsenal to evolve instantly. Let's talk about what needs to change, because this is where the game will be decided. The first and most obvious thing is finishing. Arsenal must become clinical. This is non-negotiable. At the Etihad, you will not get 10 chances. You might get 2, maybe 3 if you are lucky. And if you don't take them, you lose. It is that simple. Against Sporting, Arsenal created opportunities but lacked that final execution. Against Manchester City, that same inefficiency will cost them the game. The second thing that must change is decision-making in the final third. Too often, Arsenal overcomplicate situations. There are moments where a simple shot is the right option, but instead there is an extra pass. There are moments where a cross should come early, but instead there is hesitation. And against a team like City, hesitation is fatal. They recover quickly, they close spaces instantly, and if you delay, the opportunity disappears. Arsenal must be more direct, more decisive, and more ruthless. The third and most critical area is the front three. This is where Arsenal's biggest problem currently lies. Against Sporting, the attack did not deliver. Gyökeres had a difficult night, struggling to hold the ball, losing duels, and failing to impose himself on the game. Martinelli worked hard, but lacked that final product. Madueke struggled with both decision-making and execution. And here is the reality. Against Manchester City, your attackers define the result. If they perform, you have a chance. If they don't, you lose. Gyökeres, in particular, has a huge responsibility in this game. He needs to hold up the ball, bring others into play, and be a physical presence that disrupts City's defensive structure. Martinelli needs to provide end product, not just energy. And if Madueke plays, he must be direct and confident, not hesitant. This is not a game where you can grow into it. You must arrive ready. The midfield also needs to elevate its performance. Against Sporting, Zubimendi showed quality, controlling tempo and progressing the ball well. Rice, even after taking a knock, showed his usual reliability and strength. But against City, control alone is not enough. The midfield must not only manage the game, but also create decisive moments. They must break lines, exploit spaces, and support the attack in a way that turns possession into real danger. Defensively, Arsenal have one of their strongest foundations, but even that will be tested to the limit. Saliba and Gabriel have been outstanding, but against City, they must be perfect. Not good, not solid, perfect. Because City only need one mistake. One misplaced pass, one missed marking, 1 second of hesitation, and the game changes. Defensive concentration must be at the highest level for the full 90 minutes. But beyond tactics, beyond structure, beyond individual performances, there is one thing that matters more than anything else: mentality. This is where the Henry message, real or not, becomes relevant. Because Manchester City do not fear talent. They fear teams that believe they can beat them, teams that are brave, teams that do not sit back and accept pressure, but instead challenge it. Too many teams go to the Etihad already defeated in their minds. They play safe, they drop deep, they avoid risks, and in doing so, they lose control of the game. Arsenal cannot afford to do that. They must be brave. They must trust their system. They must press when the moment is right and attack when the opportunity is there. Because if they play with fear, the result is already decided. This is also Arteta's biggest test, not just tactically, but psychologically. Can he prepare this team to believe they are ready? Not in theory, but in reality. Because everything he has built over the past few years leads to moments like this. From a team that lacked identity to one that competes at the highest level, from inconsistency to structure, from doubt to belief. But progress alone is not enough anymore. Now it is about results. Now it is about proving that this team can take the final step. And this game against Manchester City is exactly that. A test of everything Arsenal have built. A test of their quality, their discipline, their mentality, and their ambition. So when you bring everything together, the picture becomes very clear. Arsenal are close. Very close. But being close is not enough. Against Manchester City, you either deliver or you don't. You either take your chances or you regret them. You either believe or you fall short. This is not just another match. This is a statement opportunity. A chance to show that Arsenal are no longer chasing the top teams, but standing alongside them. A chance to prove that this project is not just about progress, but about winning at the highest level. So now it comes down to one simple question. Are Arsenal ready? Not to compete, but to win. Not to impress, but to deliver. Not to hope, but to take control. Because at the Etihad, there is no middle ground. You either rise to the level required, or you get left behind. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What is the one thing Arsenal must change to win this game? And which player do you trust to step up in the biggest moment? Stay analytical, stay locked in, and as always, come on you Gunners.